Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Nuhuril Ain binti Muhammad Azlan and my matric number is 273634. I'm going to present the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on micro, small and medium enterprise from a global aspect. As we know, coronavirus disease, or better known as COVID-19, has been spreading out around the world since the end of 2019. As the virus becomes more serious, most governments have set out certain precautions to prevent this virus from spreading. The precautions include Movement Control Order, which is MCO, where people were asked to stay and work from home. This precaution has placed a huge burden on companies, especially micro, small and medium enterprise, as they do not have sufficient resources in terms of financial and managerial, and they are totally unprepared from the worst case scenarios like the COVID-19 pandemic. The problems that they face is lack of supply, less demand, cancellation of export orders, raw materials, shortage, and so on. Furthermore, the government played an important role to determine and issuing policies to build the best infrastructure that supports industrial development, especially MSMEs. However, even the large-scale economic stimulus packages have been announced. The economic impacts of the pandemic spread rapidly over the whole world. The government tried its best to help each of the MSMEs, but each of them requires different needs. So, they need to think about the best way that could help all the enterprise as MSMEs are like the backbone of people's life. During the total lockdown and pandemic period, nearly all MSME merchants incurred losses owing to a lack of consumers as a result of business closures and restrictions on public mobility. As previously stated, many governments have started providing financial and other forms of support to micro, small and medium-sized enterprise MSME and their employees. Among the government support programs are instantaneous availability of subsidies, streamlined procedures for obtaining them, and no barriers quick resolution of cash flow problems through GST refunds and short-term, low-interest loans to both major corporations and MSMEs without the need for collateral. Additionally, MSMEs are also popping up as a result of their digital transformation. MSMEs are rapidly adopting digital technology since it lowers expenses for all companies. In the event of an outbreak, people are more likely to use cell phones since they must remain indoors. MSMEs are taking advantages of this by operating their enterprise online. They can run a business on a wide range of platforms such as Instagram, Shopee, and more. As a result, they just need to promote the product by posting pictures and descriptions to their own product accounts, but they may also use this software to streamline their product promotion activities. Their products don't necessitate a website for promotion. Besides, the shift of migrant labor from cities and villages to small industrial units has become a troubling trend. Protecting labor by providing a special transportation for workers so they can return to work more easily has been an immediate response to the trend of backward migration addressed. Medical insurance for employees should be provided as a precaution in the case of a COVID-19 epidemic, and employees should be reassured that their healthcare costs will be covered if they become ill. Based on data and findings from Pakistan, MSME are important to the Pakistani economy since they contribute more than 90% of the projected 3.2 million commercial business, then donate 40% of GDP and 40% of export incomes. These companies are located throughout Pakistan, both rural and urban, and provide notably to agricultural, manufacturing, retail, wholesale, trade, and service industries. Moreover, Pakistani firms are encountering significant business disruptions as a result of the COVID-19 wave and isolation. Because SMEs rely mostly on the cash economies that's been harmed by the epidemic, a prolonged pandemic crisis will entail significant delays in their operations. According to sources, Pakistan lost one-third of their income and exports have fallen by a half year-on-year. As a result of the COVID-19 outbreak and closure, the World Bank has warned that Pakistan may enter into a recession. As a result of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Pakistan real value growth is forecast to decline by 1.3% in 2020 as its domestic and rural economic activity slows dramatically within the latter months of the business enterprise year. If COVID-19 eruption happens and lasts longer than predicted, Pakistan real GDP growth may decline by 2.2% in 2020 before returning to 0.3% in 2021. Micro-enterprise, also known as self-employed people, rely primarily on their micro-business such as small store proprietors, domestic companies, and street salespeople. These MSMEs are frequently handled by families in fields varying from agribusiness to education. Moreover, these micro-businesses are categorized as informal, with the majority of their operations being undetected. As a result, the exact number of this business is uncertain. For the action in this issue, Asian countries experience different effects based on the severity of the COVID-19 pandemic against their countries. Furthermore, these Asian countries are more vulnerable to negative shocks caused by the epidemic, which has the effect of leading to disruption of supply chains and labor supply, as well as affecting final demand for goods and services from larger firms. Nevertheless, the main impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic that had a major impact on micro, small and medium enterprise were employment, sales revenue, and cash flow. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced most enterprise, micro, small and medium to lay off their employees. If a country has a high case of COVID-19 infection, the government will act to impose a prolonged lockdown that causes enterprise to close. In this issue, there is an assumption that non-permanent employees of MSME are more likely to be laid off or reduced. Most MSMEs are experiencing critical financial difficulties in which they can no longer afford to employ their employees. This encourages MSME to lay off workers regardless of whether they are permanent or temporary employees. It can be interpreted that Bangladesh, Malaysia, and Mongolia had to lay off not only temporary workers drastically but also lay off or reduce permanent workers, and this is different from other Asian countries, whether they prefer to lay off temporary workers. This is because other Asian countries assume that employees remain more experienced because they have been working with their companies for a long time. Following that, in Indonesia, there is a slowdown in economic activity as a result of decreased communication, contact and economic transactions due to concerns that the virus may be spread via social connections. To overcome the spread of the coronavirus during the current COVID-19 epidemic, the Indonesian government enacted Government Regulation No. 21 of 2020 about large-scale social barricades. There are several ways to measure the impact of COVID-19 on the economic operation of SMEs. Disrupting the operations of MSME and lowering the number of customers is two examples. This epidemic has reduced or even wiped out the income of many employees, which has a direct impact on the general public's consumption and purchasing power. In this way, people's consumption and purchasing power are significantly impacted, especially those who fall into the casual and daily worker categories. Most MSMEs in North Aceh has devised unique plans to deal with the effects of COVID-19. We talked to the owners of micro, small and medium-sized enterprise to see how they deal with the disruptions caused by the coronavirus. Only 5% of brick-making enterprise in the Dewantara district were temporarily shut down due to a shortage of raw materials. According to the survey sample, Since the coronavirus began spreading, the brick entrepreneur admitted that the number of bricks produced has remained steady. In an average month, a brick factory may create up to 50,000 bricks. There has been no substantial decrease in production, and they can still make more than 40,000 bricks a month with the coronavirus. Global pandemic of COVID-19 has damaged people's lives in various ways and has triggered an economic catastrophe in Indonesia, notably in Dewantara, North Aceh. It has also harmed thousands of small and medium-sized businesses. Sales profits are the lifeblood of the majority of Dewantara's micro-business. Because of a lack of customers, an unstable economy, and a shortage of operating time, the company's profits plummeted. In order to survive the epidemic, MSMEs business have developed several novel approaches. In turn, they have been able to draw in more customers and raise their bottom line. Despite the pandemic's devastating impact on micro, small, and medium-sized business over the 5 months, there were no losses for the business players since they merely offered the commodities to sell based on market demand. Because of this, they will be able to prevent financial loss throughout the epidemic by keeping their spending in proportion to their income. For the last data and findings, which is in Kenya, MSMEs are essential to the economic growth of Kenya's country. This is because they can produce a variety of sources of revenue, create jobs, foster innovation and competition, present chance for upskilling, and eventually aid in raising standards of living. Besides that, this in turn encourage entrepreneurship, provide a varied industrial base, and also strengthen the economy's resilience. According to the International Finance Corporation, IFC 2016, 1 in 3 registered micro, small, and medium enterprise (MSMEs) initiatives are held by women. In other words, if MSMEs account for 80% of jobs globally and MSMEs are disproportionately owned and controlled by women, then this is a critical mass that merits attention and purposely improvement efforts from all stakeholders. In addition, according to the ILO, women's productive potential is still underutilized to the extent of 50% compared to 22% for males. Furthermore, according to the study for Kenya, the silver anniversary of the Beijing Action Platform in 2020 will be a time to celebrate the progress made in advancing gender equity and opportunity. However, the pandemic consequences of COVID-19 had caused the minimum profit that has been made to be in danger. In actuality, this pandemic began as a concern to help case exclusively, but it swiftly evolved into a dual menace that is now endangering life and livelihoods. Next, we will proceed with the discussion. Based on the study's findings, we propose several policy approaches to assist MSMEs in alleviating their problem. First and foremost, the protection of employees and the accuracy of information are two of the most important policy measures that MSMEs can take to alleviate their problems. MSMEs need to pay special attention to employee health and safety during the current health crisis. Business of all sizes, including MSMEs, must adhere to national social rehabilitation guidelines in this time of global health crisis to ensure minimal human contact and a clean workplace. Consequently, in order to prevent the further virus spread at work, the Ministry of National Health Services of Pakistan's government has already issued some guidelines for the health and safety of workers involved in various sectors. These guidelines are to be followed via letters and encouragement. To this end, the International Labour Organization (ILO) recommended that in addition to financial assistance, health protection measures for employees and their families should emphasize the necessity of introducing and strengthening protection measures in the workplace and community. Furthermore, the ILO has emphasized the importance of providing timely and transparent information in order to combat this epidemic, while also reducing uncertainty and distrust in all sectors of society and business, including the workplace. It's because a reduction in consumer spending and business investment will lead to a slowdown and impede recovery because of a leak in confidence. Secondly, boost economy. Another critical step is to allow the commerce to continue operating as much as possible while taking all cautious precautions to prevent illness transmission. This will assist to keep many failing MSMEs afloat while also stimulating the economy. Comparably, governments and business leaders have been advised by the United Nations Development Programme to make sure that trade is not hampered by lockdowns, including temporary limitations on local people's movement, and that borders remain accessible to product and services. To retain as much social distance as feasible and reduce company losses, business might focus on providing online ordering services with home delivery, especially for restaurants, bakeries, shopping malls, grocery shops, fast food vendors, and others. Such an opportunity can assist the related business. MSMEs may use online banking to conduct commercial transactions without having to make personal contact. There is a need to provide various incentives to customers in addition to lowering online fund transfer fees to encourage local individuals and companies to utilize online banking. As a result, transaction expense of the business will be able to reduce while the transaction process simultaneously speeds up. Thirdly, income and employment support for MSMEs. Granting loans to this enterprise could be considered by the government to confront the growing issue. For payment affordability, such loans might be issued at a low interest rates and provided with long-term payback terms. Furthermore, the credit ceiling available to MSMEs should be increased. The new possibilities for MSMEs to get additional borrowings at cheaper interest rates may raise optimism for this enterprise survival in the face of continued economic problems. Further to that, because of technological innovation, employees may now work from home and avoid personal touch. This type of method will assist organizations in lowering various direct expenses associated with physical office work, such as property charges, electricity costs, administration, and so on, while also improving resource efficiency. The spread of disease inside their work environment may not only be prevented and controlled by MSMEs with virtual operations implementation, but it will also boost employee self-management. Besides, MSMEs must adopt one of the most important tactics which are cooperation to mitigate the detrimental impact of COVID-19 outbreaks on their enterprise. Notably, to minimize layoff and job losses, this business might explore lending their personnel to other business in need of labor. Employees associations play a critical role in enforcing government regulations and preventing economic losses. Furthermore, workers groups may raise workers' knowledge about their health and safety and aid in the dissemination of information. Comparably, tripartite social dialogue involving governments, workers and employees groups, and civil society is an important instrument for creating and implementing long-term solutions that were recognized by the International Labour Organization. Lastly, planning and resilient capability. It's important to plan ahead and learn from mistakes. Early planning is always regarded as a strategic management decision that aids in dealing with the uncertainty of the situation. In order to avoid large losses, businesses that plan to resist COVID-19 will likely be able to continue their operations. According to the survey results from participating companies, there was a lack of early planning to deal with such a crisis. More than 83% of businesses said they were unprepared and had no plan in place to deal with a crisis of this magnitude. Because of this, there is a need to educate people about the importance of planning ahead to deal with similar uncertainties. Even if external factors are beyond someone's control, they can still reduce and control losses by taking the necessary preventive and preparedness measures. Next, build resilience capacity. As a result of the uncertainty and complexity of the circumstance, pre-planning may not be sufficient. The issue requires constant monitoring and timely response from business. Thus, the company must be able to recover from setbacks. For instance, resilience can be defined as the ability to retain positive adjustment in tough situations, rebounding from an unfavorable incident, and the ability to maintain desired function and outcomes in the face of stress. Small business typically lack the expertise to deal with unforeseen shocks. In the event of a tragedy, these companies must develop the ability to bounce back quickly and effectively. As a result, MSMEs can better withstand natural disaster if their capabilities are improved. Finally, cultivate excellent employee relations to boost resilience increases. Positive relationships are key to how people and companies respond to emergencies. Good employee relations are fundamental to a firm's success in a crisis. Positive social interactions, trust, and caring for employees help boost productivity and recover from catastrophes. During the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, Southwestern Airlines resiliency was due to its emphasis on employee trust and corporate culture. Instead of layoffs, salary cuts, and other short-term employee perks, corporations should manage strong social interactions. This encourages loyalty, employment security, and hard effort. As a conclusion, it is challenging to determine the total effect of COVID-19 on the MSME sector since it varies according to the rate of infection and patient recovery. The existing movement limitation imposed in different locations and the legislative actions in various nations. It is difficult to find comprehensive real-time global data on the condition of the MSME sector, but the COVID-19 problem has piqued curiosity and encouraged such as analysis. However, decision makers must take care to avoid ignoring the two intertwined crucial issues of competition, policy, and market access for MSMEs. The new normative environment has encouraged all economic activities to be carried out online to limit human physical movement in order to curb the spread of COVID-19 disease. Industries such as MSMEs are also not exempt from being encouraged to conduct business through e-commerce or online methods. Moreover, the government needs to step up to help the MSMEs. This will be able to make the government policy look more relevant and realistic, as well as avoid confusion. MSMEs require assistance right away. It is obvious that the simplest course of action is to offer some immediate liquidity relief, such as by extending credit vacations and grace periods for capital payments. MSMEs are very important because they make a significant contribution to a country's economy. Therefore, the solution approach used to be different between MSMEs and large industries, as these two industries are different despite having similar profit goals. That's all from me. Thank you.